You are listening to Unified Through Chronic and Mental Illness with your hosts, Angie Roberts and Kimberly Murphy. Please be advised that some of the topics of this podcast can be triggering and sensitive in nature.
The Mayo Clinic says there are more than 200,000 new cases of kidney disease in the U.S. per year. Welcome to Unified. This episode, we will be talking about kidney disease. Our special guest is Jonathan Traylor, fellow podcaster on Anchor. His podcast is called Hope with Jonathan. Welcome to Unified, Jonathan. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a family man. I enjoy spending time with my family. I enjoy, riding my bike, exercising, going for walks. I'm heavily into the kidney community because of my personal experience with kidney disease and renal failure and transplant. So I'm heavily involved right now in with the AAKP, the NKF, the AKF, which each one of those acronyms stands for American Association of Kidney Patients, American Kidney Fund, and the National Kidney Foundation. Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so I'm trying to utilize my story and help others right now with what I'm doing with Hope with Jonathan. I have a online show that I'm doing with live streams where I'm interviewing other patients, letting them tell their story and experience with kidney disease, and then we advocate also for them a living organ donation.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Where can people see that?
Yes. I have a page. So the page is actually called Hope Give the Gift of Life, and it's on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I'm also on Instagram. I'm on I'm on Twitter. The page used to be called Hope for Jonathan, but since I've already been transplanted, I just changed the name to Hope Give the Gift of Life, and I'm utilizing that page, basically to do my live streams from, and I share a lot on social media for different patients that I see that are, in need of a kidney. So,
okay, and we'll make sure to post those on our pages as well, so people can find that easily.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us a little bit about what life was like before your diagnosis? Like before 2019, your diagnosis.
So life was just going by, as usual, as normal. I was living the dream, living the life with a married man with children. I had energy. I was able to do as I wanted. I was always a big guy, though. Always strong, able to lift, able to move things. I was the guy that everybody would call and say, "Hey, can you help me come move or pick up this piece of furniture?" Or, I was about a 345, 350. That's what I weighed. Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
And I'm about 6 foot tall. So, 56 shoulders. I kind of looked like a linebacker or something for the Bears.
Wow.
I had that wide body. But no, just life was kind of going by. I was living, a normal life and eating what I wanted, did what I wanted, enjoyed my family. I was active, and then, of course, started experiencing issues.
Right.
So what were some of the symptoms that you had so that maybe other people could be aware and take notice? Sure.
Some of those symptoms, of course, are a result from type 2 diabetes and hypertension. I struggled with that, and basically family history of that as well. Grandparents had it, mother had it, father had it. It's basically a lot of family history. And because I wasn't able to take care of it and manage it in the proper, way with not having medical insurance, and I ignored a lot of things too. Like I was having urinary tract infection, and I was having a foamy urine. And when I say foamy urine, I'm talking about the foam would literally raise almost like out of the commode when you would, urinate.
Wow. I mean, that would be a big warning sign, I would think.
Yeah.
Wow.
Blood in the
That would
urinary.
freak me out.
Yeah.
That would freak me out too, but that foam would really freak me out.
Yeah. The foam for me was bad. And
Yeah.
also had bloody urine. So,
my
and then just like frequent urination, just like always going to the bathroom, like every couple of hours, you'd have to jump out of bed and go to the bathroom, and, but the urinary tract infections were becoming more and more common. They were just happening like every couple of months. I would have to go, into either the, ER or wherever I needed to go to get checked out, and it became, like I said, it was just more and more frequent until it eventually, caught up with me.
Those are really painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was basically told, at one point after, before I went into complete renal failure, that I was at stage 3. And I'll enlighten you a little bit about that real quick.
Okay.
Most people, when they find out that they have kidney disease, are usually diagnosed right around the time that they are in stage 3. It's very rare to find someone like, oh, I'm in stage 1 or stage 2. It's usually right around stage 3, and a lot of times it's kind of a quiet situation because they're usually in shock when they find out that they're in kidney, with stage 3 kidney disease, CKD, chronic kidney disease. And I wasn't, because I was actually having a lot of symptoms. But sometimes there are people out there, different patients. Everyone's different. You'll find out that some people do not have a lot of symptoms, so they have to go by your blood work.
Okay, so you had the urinary tract infections, you had the bloody urine, you had the frothy urine, you had all this pain. What else?
So I was starting to learn that I was real fatigued. Like I noticed it a lot. Like I was sleeping a lot, just really, really sleepy all the time. It wouldn't matter if I slept 8, 10, 12 hours. I'd get up and still feel like I didn't even have it was like a little nap. I felt tired all the time, drained. Also noticed that I had a horrible metallic taste in my mouth all the time. Like it tastes, like food didn't even taste good at all. Everything tasted like metal. It was just awful. Yeah.
And so that was due to the toxins that were in your system?
Yeah. So the toxins were building up. That's another sign, and another thing that happens to you with kidney disease is those toxins. Your body doesn't have any way to expel those toxins, especially if you're slowing down with your output of urine. And then you start retaining fluid. And that would be my next symptom that I would tell you is I noticed that I was starting to swell. And so my legs were swelling, my thighs were swelling. And then I was actually active. I was going for walks, and I noticed for like 6 months I wasn't losing any weight at all. Like I was just like, I was sweating, but evidently it was just enough to like keep my body, healthy enough to where I was getting rid of enough fluid. But at that time, I didn't know that I was, in kidney failure. But I was, I was at any moment I was teetering, in kidney failure at that point, for those like 6 months that I was exercising. But to a point where I couldn't even put on my shoes. That's how swollen my legs and my ankles got. So I had what was called, they call them cankles.
Right.
And, and you can laugh. That was a total joke, but anyway, my legs and my ankles got very, very swollen with fluid, and it was it was a light bulb for sure, that I knew something was going on. I knew something was wrong, at
And
that point.
had you been to a doctor up until this point?
So the doctors that I had seen before was at a clinic. At the time, they were like, well, you need to go see a nephrologist. After I'd seen the doctor here, she was like, your blood work comes back and your creatinine is, pretty high, which a normal is like, but like 0.8 to like 1.2, and 1.2 is like the highest that they would even want it. And mine was like, I don't know, it was like 1.6 or something like that. Yeah. So that was a sign right there. And then she's like, well, you need to go, see a nephrologist. So I'm going to refer you. Well, I was like, okay. And so I called the nephrologist, and they're like, the copayment up front is going to be like $200 and some odd dollars. It was pretty high.
What?
And, yeah.
That's
Welcome
what
to
I would have
America.
said. What?
Yeah. And, I just, with a family, and at the time, the job I was working, basically he's trying to take care of four of us on one income at the time. And it was just too hard to go to the doctor. I couldn't do it financially, economically,
Mm-hmm.
And, it was either, was I going to pay the rent this month, or was I going to go to the doctor, so I had to make that decision. And
Right.
so I basically pushed it back. I knew in the back of my mind I was stage 3, but because that's what, the doctor had told me. She said, I think you're around probably like stage 3 kidney failure. And of course, and with that, it alone, that was hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
But it, I did not realize what I was fixing to really encounter
Right.
with kidney disease.
So what happened on July 8th, 2019? The big day.
So that day is like forever embedded in my mind, because of what happened to me was so like dramatic. And the only explanation I can give you is that I thought I was fighting the flu, and I had been in the bed for like 3 days. Okay. And my wife was like begging me. She was like, Jonathan, you need to go to the doctor. Something's wrong. You're not getting up out of the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I was like, I was being a typical stubborn man. I was like, you know what? I think I'm fighting the flu here, and I'll be okay.
Right.
Well, no, because my wife's like, and I've noticed you're not even using the bathroom. And I was like, well, okay, I'm going to go try. So I went to get up out of the bed, and I literally fell on the floor.
Oh, wow.
I had no strength at all. No strength. I mean, my son at the time was 17. He had to come in the room and help me get back on the bed. My wife had to get me back up on the bed. And even still after that, I didn't end up in the ER. My wife still couldn't convince me to go.
Stubborn.
Yeah. So I crawled back in the bed. I said, well, maybe I just need to get my strength. I'll be okay. I'll be fine. I'll eat something. The whole time that I was doing that, I was drinking G2s, Gatorades. And as you know, those are full of potassium. And when you have kidney disease, you have to stay away from potassium, right?
So you were just making it even worse.
even yeah. I was on a pace really quick to death.
Right.
And so, make a long story short with it, my wife begged me finally. She said, well, I need you to try to urinate again. So this was like maybe a couple hours later.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to urinate, and I could not urinate at all. I couldn't use the bathroom. And that scared me. That part really scared me, because I really felt like I needed to.
Scary.
Yeah, I felt like I really need to go. And then she was like, I was like, there's something wrong. And she's like, yeah, you need to go to the hospital. When they picked me up, I started having some trouble with breathing, and I kind of went into this real fast heart rate, and I was really struggling to breathe. Mm-hmm. And what that was at the time is the fluid had reached my lungs, and my lungs were starting to fill up.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I was really struggling. And when I say struggling, it was almost as if I had taken off running around the block and I was just panting for breath. And I mean, I could not breathe at all. And it got worse. It just progressed. And then the heart rate was progressing. I had this real weird heart rate. Okay. And by the time I got to the emergency room, which my local hospital here does not have a dialysis ward.
And that's just perfect.
Yeah. So what happened was they came in, and they were kind of acting a little nonchalant at first. But when they took that blood work and they came back and realized that I was in kidney failure, it was like they were ready to go. They were like, "Sir, how long have your kidneys been failed?" And I was like, I don't know. You just told me. I guess now, I'm finding out now.
Right.
And they're like, "You're in complete renal failure. We've got to get you to San Antonio. We're going to have to put you in a helicopter and air flight you." And so they, I'm afraid of heights too. So I was like, oh
lovely.
Man. Yeah. So to add, insult to injury there. And so, but I'm a man of faith, and I started, praying in my mind, and I was, when I got into the helicopter and they got me strapped in and everything, and I flew all the way to San Antonio, which was about a 20-minute ride in the helicopter. It was like I was floating on a cloud. I'm telling you, I had no fears, no stress from it. It was just like,
that's amazing.
That's great.
Yeah.
No anxiety or anything. And then when we landed and they wheeled me in, the emergency room physician says, "You better grab the crash cart."
Oh.
And and then all of a sudden when he said that, I blacked out. Some of the memories are a little vague for me because, like I said, I blacked out, so I don't completely remember everything. But I do remember waking up in the ICU, intubated. I couldn't talk, which is very scary, let me tell you.
I can't imagine that. That would be like a fear of mine,
what does that feel like when you open your eyes and you're
like you're underwater and you can't breathe? It's a very unusual feeling. It's very strange. You go to talk and you can't. You go to say something, you just can't. I mean, and then they had my hands. I found out later I was trying to pull my lines and my hoses and tubes and stuff. They had my hands, strapped to the bed so that I wouldn't do that. Well, when I came to, I was, strapped to the bed too. So, I was really,
oh my goodness.
I was really panicking, because I'm like, what in the world?
right.
I can't talk. I can't move my hands. What's going on? And of course, there's this huge machine next to me. I later found out that they had to pull off I think it was 30 pounds of fluid.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fluid.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fluid.
Oh, it is. It is.
So, I mean, you were close to death.
So my nephrologist there, Dr. Luna, Methodist in San Antonio, man, the Methodist system there is amazing. As a matter of fact, I had my transplant just right around the corner from there. But Dr. Luna, she said you were just 30 minutes from death.
After that, you had to go on a kidney transplant list, correct?
So after that, I went into dialysis, which started with a catheter in my chest, which is called a permacath. So I did hemodialysis in center with DaVita here in Kerrville for probably about 10 months. And then after about 10 months in center, I switched over to home hemodialysis, which my wife was my caretaker.
You can actually do it at home.
Yes, you can do hemodialysis at home. Now, there's a lot of people out there that's probably listening that possibly does dialysis on their own at home. And I'm talking about hemo. Some people stick themselves. My dialysis center would not allow me to do home dialysis without a caretaker. So my wife had to become my caretaker, and she actually did the sticking.
Oh,
okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, she did everything. She learned They basically ended up giving her a certification after we went through all the training. It took about 3 weeks to complete all the training.
Oh, that's so sweet of her to do that.
So it's definitely dialysis is not for the faint of heart. There's a lot of people out there that's been doing it a long time, and those are the ones that I call the real true kidney warriors. They call all of us kidney warriors. Regardless of how long we've been on dialysis or what have you, but I call the ones that have been on dialysis for a long period of time. Those are the true kidney warriors, because you got to think about that. They do treatments, 3 times a week.
That's got to be really hard.
In center, and some of them have been doing it a long time. I met people that have been doing it like 15, 20 years.
Were you on the transplant list?
After I was there for a couple of months, I had really conformed to the renal diet, and my labs were really great, and they had seen a total change. Even when I showed up and got out of the hospital, I was still a pretty sick man.
Yeah.
When I showed up at the center in Kerrville, I was still in pretty bad shape, and they had noticed that I had lost a lot of weight. I had went down to about 226 pounds from 350.
That's a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah. I was a 3XL, and I had to get rid of all my clothes and all my shorts, pants. Had to go buy all new clothes, which thank God for thrift stores, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was definitely an experience to do that. I had to change my diet completely. I had to go on the renal diet. But after I was there for about 3 months, they put me on the transplant list.
Okay.
And so
you have to show initiative, right, to get on the transplant list of losing weight and.
Yeah, I think what they do is they look at the overall, is this person going to survive a transplant? Are they,
Right.
But because of my age and everything, and not having any other real major health problems other than the type 2 diabetes and hypertension, they were like, well, let's put him on the transplant list as soon as we can, and so that's what they do. It's like a case by case situation.
Right. And
So
how long did
different.
it take? How long did it take for you to actually get a kidney?
Well, I'm a miracle situation, because number one, I'm an O negative, which is a real O is one of the most common blood types. And a lot of people that are O are waiting on a kidney, because that O is one of the most common. But there's not enough kidneys to go around. And the great thing about O is O can donate to any other blood type, but they can only receive an O.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I got, because the fact that that O is so common, that there's not enough, like I said, of kidneys to go around for all the ones that are O. So I was told 6 to 8 years on a wait list.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
But the situation with me is how I got transplanted was I was on a list. I had some people here in Kerrville. I had an organization helping me. They were, boosting my Facebook posts. They were putting me on their website. Shout out to kidneysolutions.org and Kent Bressler here in Kerrville, Texas. He's an amazing mentor. He's still my mentor, but he was my personal advocate, and he was helping me. I had a lot of people sharing on Facebook, social media. But what ended up happening for me was one of my friends up in Kentucky. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and I went to church with this family. We did a lot of family events, things like that. What happened was they called me. His sister called me and said, that unfortunately her brother had, had some health issues, and he was going to pass away.
Oh, no.
And they wanted to know if I wanted his kidney.
Oh, wow. So when you were going through all of this, I mean, how did you keep yourself, or did you keep yourself thinking positive and upbeat? How did you have that hope to keep moving forward? Because it sounds like a really hard, trying time that you went through.
So I go back to my 2 weeks in the ICU. I was in the ICU for like 3 days, and then they moved me to another, basically just a general hospital floor, because I started healing and got better, so they moved me out of the ICU. But 3 days in the ICU, and then when they moved me to the room, I had some time by myself, and I had to really process things. I realized things were moving quickly, and I didn't have time to really think about it. I had to just start accepting, and acceptance goes a long way. I mean, I had to accept I was in renal failure, and okay, so what do we do next? Okay, they're gonna put me on dialysis. And all this was happening at such a rapid pace. It was like, boom, I was near death. Now I'm out. I was in the ICU. Now I'm out of the ICU. Now they're telling me I got to be on dialysis the rest of my life until I get a transplant. So
you're probably in shock most of that time.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, it was like a scene out of a movie. It was just in real fast, and and then the dialysis treatments too, because you sit on the machine for 3-4 hours, so that's a whole nother experience, by itself.
Right.
But so I had some time to think about it, process. When everybody would go home and I was in there in the hospital room by myself, I spent a lot of time meditating and in prayer, and thinking about things, thinking about my life. I remember one night in particular, I just really was struggling. I think it was the night before they were going to install the permacath, which is basically the catheter that they put in your chest. I was having a hard time. Just really was hard, and I had to reach out to God and just really really pray, and that's what I did. And so my faith helped carry me through. Acceptance helped carry me through, and then I just started. After I started doing all that and started accepting things, not saying that I was happy with it,
right,
but saying, okay, this has happened, so now what am I going to do to continue living? And
it is what it is now. What?
Right. There's no going back, right? So,
right.
So I was like, I got to progress and move forward. So I was like, I got to accept it. And I really feel like that acceptance, that's when I started developing the positives, because I'd already faced death. I'd already faced it. Death was okay, I was 30 minutes from death, and I've already faced that. So I'm not afraid from this point forward.
Right.
I've been through the worst of it. It sounds like, and
right.
For the most part,
still here.
I was. Yeah, and I'm still here, and God must have a purpose for me. So, and everybody I tell the story to is looks at me like, I don't know how you survived that. And I was like, it was just by the grace of God. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
Because He's the one. He's a giver and taker of life. And if He would have chose to take me home, that would have been, His decision. But His decision was to keep me here. And I really feel like it's because I can use my story to encourage and give hope. And that's one of the reasons why I started doing the show that I do, Hope with Jonathan.
What advice would you give new kidney patients?
New kidney patients, be compliant and listen to what the doctors are telling you. Do not disregard anything that the doctors are telling you. If they're telling you, you need to do this, this, and this, they're not trying to do that on, to make you mad or upset you. They're telling you to do that to save your life and to try to, stop the progression of kidney disease.
Right.
Whether it be change your diet or, you need to do more lab work or whatever it is, or exercise more, or get your diabetes under control your hypertension. I would tell you to do whatever it takes to keep yourself in good shape, because controlling your type 2 diabetes, controlling your hypertension, will go a long way. And then, just basically just listen to what the doctors are telling you. Get educated as much as you can on kidney disease. Google. You can Google anything on kidney disease, and Google is your friend on kidney disease. New kidney patients can look up like American Association of Kidney Patients. They can look up American Kidney Fund. They can look up National Kidney Foundation. There's many different sources of information, and each one of those is a wealth of information. So you can look those up. There's, like I said, Google is your friend when it comes to kidney disease. There's a whole lot of information out there. As a matter of fact, when I got sick, that's what I started doing. I started researching. Started, finding out what caused my kidney disease and what caused my kidneys to fail, and what's the purpose of dialysis and how it works, and transplant and all these different things. I researched them out, and I learned as much as I could. And when I was at dialysis, I wasn't afraid to ask questions. I was always asking them questions.
That's like a great,
power,
it's like a great example of a proactive patient. You can't just blindly follow the doctor. You have to do some research and figure out on your own as well.
Another tip I would say too is know your medications. Definitely know your medications, because your doctors, they see a lot of different patients, and even though they prescribe you and somewhere in the system they'll have it, but if they ask you what med you're on and you tell them like, oh, it's a yellow pill or a green pill, they're not going to know what that is, because manufacturers change the color of pills all the time.
That's true.
So know your medication is a great tip for new patients, because when you're a kidney patient, you're going to be on a lot of different meds, especially if you're on dialysis. You'll be on different supplements and different medications, especially if trying to control like type 2 diabetes, hypertension, those type of things.
And what about the emotional part of it? Is there support groups available and things like that?
Yes, I would definitely reach out to any local support group. I'm a part of a great support group here that's a transplant support group. We do Zoom meetings right now because of COVID-19. We were meeting at the local hospital here. They are a strong base for me of support. I actually, my mentor is part of the support group, because my mentor is a 33-year kidney transplant patient.
Wow. That's a long time. Wow. Nice.
Yeah, his brother gave him his kidney. And he introduced me to the support group, and I've been going to them ever since. And I can't tell you enough how much support group. And sometimes people don't have a strong support with family. Sometimes people just don't have good relationship with their families or whatever. A support group is like a family, and they will be there for you. And they're just amazing. So if you can join a support group, I would definitely do it.
It was so great to have Jonathan on our podcast. His story really is inspirational and one of hope, and it's amazing how he now is using his experience to help other people. What is our mantra for this week?
A fall isn't final unless you stay on the ground.
That's right. Absolutely true.
Right. Thank you guys for listening to this episode, and we hope you have a wonderful day. And don't forget, we're stronger together.
See you next time.
Unified through chronic and mental illness can be found at anchor.fm/unified. There you can find all social media links as well as other ways to listen.